Hey everyone, this is Roman Prokopchuk, and this is the Digital Savage Experience podcast. Today I have with me Rocky Singh Kandola. He's a successful businessman. He's a former felon and philosophy graduate who spent most of high school, in terms of his life in high school years, in 9 different facilities and boot camps across the world. He's also experienced several near-death experiences. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Roman.
My pleasure. So obviously that's all over the place in terms of some, traumatic and major things in life. So tell me a little bit about your journey. How did you get to where you are today?
Got it. Yeah. So, basically, my high school life starting around 11 years old. I had very strict Indian parents, traditional parents, and we had a brother and a sister 3 years younger than me. I guess I was a bit tough to deal with as a child. I like to talk back. I was very highly intelligent in all the honors classes and made good grades, but I did talk back quite a bit. I was not really. And I needed to study. I was in schools in the South, and I would just kind of not really study and still pass good grades, and they wanted to fill my time with things. So I started getting sent away. The first place to India when I was 11. I got sent there to live for 6 or 7 months alone. Looking back, like I actually very much am grateful for that period of time. However, as a child, I missed my family, I missed my brother, I missed everybody. So it was quite a lot. When I got back, it kind of became a routine and a ritual in my life to be home for 4 to 6 months, then get sent away to a program or military school or boot camp or facility for 7 to 9 months. So basically, jumping straight in, the first place I went to after India was a program called WWASP, the Worldwide Association of Specialty Programs. They've since been, most of them have been closed or changed their names due to allegations of child abuse, of rape, of torture, of all kind of things of that nature. In fact, as an adult, the first time I literally ever in my life like had like a happy tear in my eye was when I saw on CNN like the fact that they were actually closing the schools down. They had the helicopters above the one I went to in Mexico. So yeah, the program I went to WWASP. Um, for lack of a better term, it was just hell, like living hell. Especially I went twice, once at 11 and 12 years of age, and then once at 17. In these programs, you can't communicate with the outside world. You can write one letter home to your parents, which is very heavily, monitored. If you write anything negative, they'll tear it up and make you write it again. You can't communicate with people next to you. It's a very very strict, regimented, kind of like a brainwashing program. A lot of abuse. Every kid has a different story, and honestly, I don't even feel like mine was one of the craziest. I definitely did face quite a bit of physical abuse, quite a bit of mental, even um, kind of like a thing in sexual nature too. I was 11 and I woke up, in a very funny position. But I know other kids who have, much crazier stories from me in there. And, I would obviously never say their names, but, I could obviously, share their stories, which were, range from everything from literally being raped to a kid hanging himself in the basketball court net, when I came there as well. So, moving from those schools into military schools, into to different, boarding schools and Catholic boarding schools all around the country, Mexico, Canada, India, and all around the U.S., really kind of instilled like a really rebellious, I don't give a F nature in me. And at 18 or 17, when I graduated high school finally from one of these facilities, and I got out, I really felt like the world kind of owed me something, and I had like a chip on my shoulder, and no one could tell me anything, and I'm going to do what I want and live how I want. And eventually, 3 short years later, that ended up winding me up with distribution charges of controlled substances, and wound me up in prison in Alabama State as well. So the whole prison experience, if you guys know our justice system in America, it's crazy. It was 9 years of my life over what was amounted to 8 ball or 3.5 grams of cocaine. I had an undercover sting operation set up on me, and to be clear, I was never like a big dope boy drug dealer. I liked to party. I knew the people who had the party substances, and I knew the people who wanted to party, and I would kind of put it all together and have fun, with everybody. Eventually, obviously, that wound me up in a very difficult position, being in prison. And for my prison sentence, I was sentenced to 10 years, split to serve 3, which is a mandatory 3 on the front end of your sentence in Alabama. I was also did about a year off and on in jail, 22 months on house arrest with electronic bracelet monitoring, about 6 to 9 months in inpatient rehab facilities. as well as all kind of probation and parole in between and after. Um, so I guess I'm fast forwarding a tiny bit, but once I actually finally got out, I kind of found myself basically doing the same things. I've always been kind of hard headed. I'm not the type that you can hit me, punish me, or something like that and change me. Before I went to prison, I was assaulted, which was like kind of the most serious near death experience I had. And I was picked up and thrown into a concrete sidewalk, and my entire jaw was just crushed. And actually, all this is fake in my mouth, veneers, and only 4 teeth actually were there. They had to take some bone out of my head and place it in my jaw to build it back up. And I actually went to prison like that with half my teeth missing. And it was horrible because people were like, your breath smells. And I was like, there's nothing I can do about it. There's metal in my mouth and they haven't done surgery yet. So in prison, eventually came to where I had to have emergency surgery all of a sudden in order to, get this piece of metal sticking out of my mouth taken care of. But when I got out finally, on probation and a little more house arrest after that, I still, was in the same lifestyle around the same people. I actually started getting back into selling and doing things of illegal natures in a more, what I thought anyway, controlled, smart sense. And, as I said earlier, I was always really rebellious towards my father. And obviously, someone that's sending me away and someone like that I'm not going to get along with very well. And finally, November 4th, 2012, he came to me and said, hey, you haven't been asking me for money. You haven't been living at home. I've heard your name from a couple of doctors' mouths that, that I know what they're doing. I think that, you should maybe get away. You should just get out of town. And he's never came to me like that before. He's always been really strict and really just, making me do things or, really rough with it. And he was really like calm and collected when he said it. And I was like, you know what, it was that was what I call kind of my first turnaround moment. And I don't even like to say that I made or he made the decision, something up above or a different energy. Something was like, Rocky, like, you need to do this. And I left. I had a choice to go to Canada, England, or India. I went to India. And I just made a decision. I was like, you know what, like, I'm not looking back. I had a girlfriend at the time. I broke up with her. I stopped, kind of stopped talking to all my friends. Totally got out of the lifestyle for what I was doing. Left it all behind. I lived on a farm for a couple months and just a really clean life, working out, working on the farm. And eventually while there, I met my now ex-wife. And, as painful as that relationship ended, I am also very grateful for it. I don't think maybe I was 100% ready for it at the time. And, a multitude of other factors when it comes into, personal relationships. But either way, I learned and grew from that so much and still had to deal with, many struggles along that time as well. When I first came to LA with my business, we were together and I was living with her family and she left, I think maybe 3 weeks after we moved here. And I had a choice. I was basically homeless, living out of a minivan. And I had a choice and all my friends were like, Rocky, just come home. Like, what are you doing? My parents were like, come home. And for some reason I had already felt like, I can do well in LA. I can work, I can make it happen. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to try it. I don't care what happens. If I fail, then I'm going to fail really hard, but I'm going to give it a shot. So I was still in that period of like, really being sad and like just horrible days every day. I'd wake up crying and like drink and just, start drinking all day. But still I'd answer my phones and I would go to meetings. I would go meet people in their salons and their Starbucks coffee shops, brush my teeth and sober up enough to have a proper business meeting. And I think people could really see like that I was just being really real with them and like kind of like wearing everything on my sleeve. Like here I am, here's my product, here's what I'm doing. I'd love to work with you and, hope we can do some business together. And, those clients I met during that time, I still call my friends today. They call me and check up on me. Like when COVID happened, when the riots happened downtown, they were like, hey, Rocky, are you okay? Are you safe? Even the ones who maybe necessarily didn't end up doing business with me still stay in touch with me. So eventually, I had a close friend that I've known since high school from Korea come live with me for about a month or two. And Sean, he's an amazing soul. He didn't try to push anything on me or teach me anything. He literally just lived a lifestyle right next to me, just super clean, yoga, meditation, working out, a couple certain things like into the lifestyle every single day. And I like to think that that's my like second big turnaround phase is when he finally came to me and he just showed me that lifestyle and he showed me how I can live that lifestyle in LA very easily. And man, I've been on that, routine and morning routine and lifestyle, which I mean, we all have our slip ups here and there. You go out a little bit too much or you do something a little bit extra and you kind of fall back a tiny bit. But I've been on that routine for almost 4 years now, 3 or 4 years now. And the changes and the progress that I've made, you know, even simply looking like on paper, I've just been uh, phenomenal. Like I've came a very long way in that short time implementing these certain things in my life. I stopped listening to music, to TV. I literally just listen to audio tapes and books and YouTube videos, you know, whenever I have a quiet moment in my day, anytime, while I'm working out, while I'm driving, anything. And I guess the third kind of stage now that I'm in is, you know, everything happens for a reason, in my opinion. Everything I've done led up to literally me talking to you right here, right now. And my parents, like I said before, very traditional. They don't like us talking about this kind of stuff. And getting all this, like especially going deeper into my childhood and what happened back then, and you know the all the violent situations, it's kind of helped me come to a new place finally and what I want to do, because the hair thing, you know, was with my ex-wife. I made the company, but I don't find as much fulfillment in it. The only time I do find fulfillment in it is when I get close to clients and they hear my story and they reach out and say, Rocky, man, that motivated me. Like I needed to hear that. And that started making me feel so like good in my heart that I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should start sharing this with more people. You know, maybe I can actually help people that aren't in the hair business. Maybe I can help that kid that is about to go to jail, or the adult that's about to go to prison, or just getting out, or one or the other. And you know, I don't have, like I said in the beginning, I'm pretty new to like, you know, getting out and speaking about this. I don't have like a set, you know, plan to follow, you know, guidelines. I basically have my experience, what I've been through, and what I've done to change those things around a little bit. And you know, turn a couple of the things I was doing. I was smoking weed every single day, all day long, and I let go of that as well, which I never thought I would do. Small things like that, which might seem small, especially if you're in the lifestyle right now. It might seem like, you know, it's not a big deal. I smoke a little weed here and there. I do this and that here and there, whatever it is for you personally. But the power of letting go, you know, and moving forward, it actually allows you to transform and create your life how exactly you want it. In my opinion, I recently gave away everything in my house, like my furniture, my clothes, 5 or 10 suits, 20 pairs of shoes, all my food, everything, to just people, my neighbors, and the homeless people down the street from me in LA. And you know, I could definitely afford to live in a nice place and get a, you know, 1 year lease or something like that. But I moved my office to Beverly Hills, and I moved into a co-living community called, you know, Podshare. And because I didn't want to live alone, I wanted to be around, you know, people with good energies and that were, you know, just good people. And I was blessed enough to find that literally just 2 months ago. I made those changes, and all this kind of coincided at the same time, getting out more in public and speaking about things as well. So I guess that's the long short form right there. So
Yeah, and I think it's important to kind of share your story regardless of what your story is. A lot of people don't think their stories are impactful, you know, compared to others and don't share it. But I think as long as you can impact at least one person, because there's at least one person out there that has went through or is going through something you are, and regardless of where you are, where you started, obviously there's different variables in people's lives. Obviously, people have things handed to them while others go through a lot of trials and tribulations, different things in terms of painful experiences, but it's where you end up. You know, that doesn't define you. Your past doesn't define you. And as long as you try to change those habits, try to refocus and change the way you are in the future from that kind of path you were on before, I think that's all you can really do, and kind of pivot and then have other people to learn from, because there's a lot of people that have that choice. If they experience something, you know, rebelling against authority, going through, you know, legal issues, different things like that, and sometimes they think there's not, you know, a different path, that they fall into that and it's repetitive. A lot of stuff. My wife and I are foster parents, so I see the biological parents of our foster kids. A lot of the time it's cycles of violence and cycles of abuse that they haven't broken, because their parents, their grandparents were all in those kind of cycles: drugs, you know, physical, mental, you know, sexual abuse. And none of that was ever kind of presented to them that there was another path. So I think it's important to share your story and kind of, you know, let other people know what you're about, and obviously the experiences that you've been through.
definitely, definitely.
So, what's one thing that may have motivated you, or what currently motivates you to succeed? Obviously, those motivations may have changed over time with obviously the mindset and different shifts, but what kind of currently motivates you to succeed?
So I guess like I love to travel. I love to move around. I've always like I told you, my life is been 6 months here, 6 months there. I guess part of that got instilled in me. And so that's kind of one of the biggest things is the fact of with my business right now, what I do, hair. If you look up hair anywhere in the world, like I went to Cancun a month ago, and I met a client there, a new client that I found on Google. The ability to travel definitely motivates me, and taking that a step further now, like I said, I really feel fulfilled and passionate and motivated, and it literally gives me the energies to work straight for a month when I hear things like, "Hey, Rocky, I read what you wrote, or I heard what you said, and it inspired me. It motivated me. I learned something from it. I want to be able to do that more and more and travel and actually connect with people, not just in America, around the world. I speak, 4 different languages. I love going to other places and seeing new cultures and communities and seeing what they're about and how they live and what they do. Now I'd like to do that all over the place. Like I said, like you said about our stories, like honestly, like when I hear mine, and I'm writing like my personal, book right now, like which has been really tough to like get through it. I don't even see it sometimes, like I look at it, I'm like, no one's going to really care about this. Like I don't even know if this is going to be anything that is new to anybody. Doesn't everybody kind of go through all this stuff? Like, and so when I do this and I have people reach out, that's a huge thing for me. Um, yeah, I guess that's my motivation. If I really sat down, clear my mind for a second, those things right there, being able to connect with others and inspire them and to travel while doing that, like puts a smile on my face. So
Yeah, I think motivating others, I think everybody kind of has the duty, I guess, to be kind of like that role model or share your experiences, but not everybody kind of comes to the forefront of that or becomes that. I know a lot of people in the limelight, like athletes and people like that, some, movie stars, personalities say, I'm not a role model. But I think if you're thrown into a situation, you may as well use it for good and for, positive things. And I think traveling, at this point, I've been to like, I guess, 30 countries or so. Obviously, some people more than that. I was born in Ukraine and I've been all over Europe and then other places in the world. So I think that really molds you in terms of who you are and really makes you appreciate what you have also. Obviously, there's countries out there that aren't as fortunate as the US. And seeing how people live, traveling, humbling yourself in that kind of environment, it shows how people can be happy with so little that we think is so little, but they have kind of their basic needs met, and they're a lot of the times happier than multimillionaires or people with all these material things in the US and other kind of countries as well. So I think traveling and learning about new cultures or your culture, myself, I was born in Ukraine. I came here when I was 5, but I've been back twice. So going back and seeing how people live kind of recalibrates who you are and what's really important to you. And then you can come back and kind of helps you pivot in certain situations in your life as well.
exactly, it's like a regrounding. I go to India every year now, like at least twice a year. COVID kind of slowed that down a bit, but I mean, I try to get there whenever I can. And just like you said, it's like a reset, a grounding. It gives you a better appreciation, just being there.
Yeah, and me being kind of in the digital marketing field, there's a lot of like online entrepreneur, digital marketer nomads where they live in just random countries that the dollar goes a long way. India, Thailand, other kind of Asia area countries, and Eastern Europe and places in South America where they can really kind of infuse themselves in the culture and still kind of make a living, but really be somewhere with where it's awesome and the cost of living is a lot lower than the US.
Exactly. I was in
So
Bali. I actually met a lot of people like that just in February this year.
yep, there's a lot. I mean, there's one guy that graduated with my wife, and by far, he's probably the most successful person in that high school. He's like a affiliate marketer when affiliate was like really big, and it was a lot easier than now. So I don't think he's in a place more than a few months, but he comes back to the U.S., kind of touches base, and then goes travels for another year or two and back and forth. But it's been a very kind of interesting lifestyle and a kind of a culture shift of work, especially during COVID, where people see that people were forced into remote working. So now a lot of places let people work remotely, and there's a lot of countries in different kind of economic zones trying to attract people or remote workers and freelancers to live there and kind of spend their money in their economy.
Yep.
So, what's one thing you may have seen as a weakness in yourself in the past that you've turned around and utilized as a strength today?
Um, I think one big thing that I can think of right now is the way I react. My I used to have a pretty big temper. I was never really the violent type, but I would bite the shit out of you with my words, and I was very good at that. So I have learned to, even when people like come at me or I feel bad or negative, vibes or energy like that, I've learned to smile. I've learned to do my best to give them love, and then if I can't, to remove myself from the situation. And what I've found more and more, and this is one of those things that people touch on sometimes, and it almost sounds like a cliche or just like stop kidding, but like you attract what you put out, and that energy definitely is reciprocated. And nowadays I don't have, like I used to think like, why do I keep getting pulled over? Why does someone always want to bother me or call me something? Why does this keep happening? And like it just doesn't happen anymore. Like I meet great people. I'm like super, super grateful for the people out that are around me now and the people I meet every day. And I just don't have issues. And I think that was a big thing, was that I was so reactionary that I was almost looking for it at certain times. I was so used to living that volatile lifestyle that's what I was like expecting. And I changed, the way I thought about things, and the way I reacted to things, and beautiful stuff started coming towards me. And it was a process. It didn't just happen like boom, all of a sudden. Like there was like a give and take, up and down, a lot of it. And still, have not so good days, but I am able to now, like with what I've learned and the tapes I've literally stuffed in my head, just to really like to breathe, sit down, think about it, and be like, you know what, this is all I'm creating this in my brain. I can see it however I want to see it. So why am I going to choose to see it in a negative light? I'm going to choose to see it, one for what it is, and two for how I can make it even better. How I can just appreciate it versus anything else, versus judging it or something.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, ultimately, it's a choice, a personal choice. I often say it's a you versus you battle. So you let yourself kind of dwell or focus the way you want. You can be negative or positive. And same thing, if people all around you are negative, obviously you have to take yourself out of the situation. But to a certain extent, you have to give them permission for them to make you feel a certain way. So you can let those people get to you a lot worse than if you kind of put up kind of this, wall and permit them not to come in a way. So I mean, it's all majority of that is kind of in the mind. And like you said, it's hard to break because habits are tough to break, especially because human nature, you want to feel safe and in a habit. So when you try to take yourself out, you start second guessing yourself. You start thinking that it may not be the right path, but getting through that or past that first hurdle, most times, 9 times out of 10, leads to something a lot greater.
Definitely, 100% agreed.
So, what's one piece of advice you can leave with the audience, personal or professional?
Personal, I would say, whatever you're doing. I mean, and hopefully a lot of people, I feel like in this day and age, especially with all that's going on, people are starting to gravitate more towards this. But just make sure you take, time on a daily basis if you can to slow down, step back, check in with yourself. It doesn't have to be a God or anything like that you pray to or talk to. It's just, it can be yourself. And for me, it really is myself. I kind of talk to myself a little bit. And I do realize there's a different energy and that connects us all out there as well. And I do both those things, as well as I try to get to some kind of nature as much as I can. I live in LA on the west side, so I'm blessed to be able to walk literally 5 minutes, and I can put my feet in the sand. I do that as often as possible, and then the distractions, and I think this translates both to business and personal life, because especially our business and professional, because especially as entrepreneurs, which I assume a lot of people are entrepreneurs listening in, or at least have that those goals. They're so intertwined that you can almost get lost in it and in the understanding of it. Um, the meditation, the yoga, the even when it comes down to clean eating, the ridding your mind and your environment of distractions such as the music, the TV shows that are going on today. All that stuff really does dig deep in your subconscious, and it doesn't mean like you have to just cut it all off. Like if you go to a party or something like that and they're playing good music and you like, or dance music, you can enjoy it, you know what I mean? But it shouldn't be what you're feeding into your brain, a large portion of the day. Feed yourself good food, good water, and good information, good positive things. And that's like, I'm just on this journey 3 or 4 years, and I can say business wise, numbers wise, lifestyle wise, even the way my body started to look after 3 years is I've never felt a lot of these changes I didn't know were possible. Like you said before, I was so in that mindset of this is who I am. People were like, oh, Rocky, the playboy, Rocky, the drug dealer, Rocky, the party animal. I never thought I'd be any different. Rocky, the criminal, um, and the changes that have came, with this new mindset and pattern. Uh, I don't know what to say. It's beautiful. You can really create the life you want to create with these small, simple things. It just takes you wanting to do it one, and then you doing it, and you sticking with it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can take yourself or get yourself out of really every situation as long as you can wake up the next day and still have breath in your lungs. You can make that choice for yourself to go a different direction. And I think it's not easy. I mean, obviously, it's hard to get out of things. You may fall back into some things or stumble along the way, but as long as you have that focus to something positive and to better yourself and take situations and things out of, your mind, because your mind ultimately controls everything. What you let in there, like you said, music, if you're listening to negative music, that's eventually going to bring you down, or subliminally just put you in a bad place. Obviously, if you're eating junk food and different things of that nature, that's going to bring your body down. And if you surround yourself with people that don't necessarily want you to succeed, or are negative all the time, all that has an impact on you and who you are. So, taking yourself out of the mix and, things that you've done along the way and recently can really put you in a good position, because it's like if you stay in the same variables, regardless if you want to change, eventually those are going to bring you down again. So you have to do an overhaul and figure out, what things are getting to you. You may want the desire to change, but if you don't make certain things different in your life, you're going to keep having the same results over and over again.
Definitely.
So I really appreciate you stopping by today. Can you let the audience know how they can find you or anything else you have going on?
Yes, definitely. So, my main business is human hair extensions. I do wholesale business to business. It's just simply hair made in India. That's hair, MAIDEN, India.com. I do work with, affiliates. I do work with, people looking to do sales and stuff like that as well on a commission basis also. That's just putting that out there. My personal name and Instagram and Facebook and everything else is Rocky Singh Kandola. The websites are both rockycandola.com, hairmaninity.com. You can find me very easily with a search online. My other company, I do CBD teas as well. It's just manalitea.com, MANALITEA.com. And my personal blog, rockycandola.com. And honestly, I'm not one of those like have a assistant call center person be there for me. I answer everything directly whenever I can. So my direct phone number, if that's all right to share, is 228-596-5678. If this something resonated with you or anybody listening, and you want to talk deeper about it, or you want to just have somebody to listen, I'll put things on pause and have a chat with you guys. So reach out to me.
Awesome. Thanks again for stopping by.